What is up, gamers? So 50 reviews for Pokopia just dropped, and we're going to read every single one of them in this video. Well, we're going to get the highlighted key points of each review about legendary Pokemon, customization, game mechanics, habitats. There's like 150 plus habitats, which is crazy. Bunch of cool stuff we're going to talk about in this video. There's actually like one bad rating of Pokopia too we're going to read. It's pretty funny. So make sure you subscribe if you like the video and Pokopia stuff. Join the Discord down below and let's get into it. All right, so from this first website, Area, I can't even pronounce this. An interesting point I liked here was the gameplay loop of each area follows a similar pattern across all of them. Reset the PC in the Pokemon Center of the area, create habitats to attract Pokemon of different types, fulfill all secondary requests of these Pokemon, explore the area to find a special Pokemon that will give us a main task, and then by completing all the main tasks, we obtain a medal that unlocks access to another area of the map with its own Pokemon and characteristic theme. They're essentially saying that's the gameplay loop here versus Animal Crossing. You know, there's not really missions and stuff. You're just on the island every day. You're doing another thing. And what's cool is this website also shows us like the little daily item store that rotates. The different areas of the game could be considered like routes, since each one is themed around a specific element or system of the game and is home to different Pokemon versus other areas of other Pokemon. And then on Games Radar, we have an image here of the shop as well. And it says today only. And then we just see their today only items similar to the last review. It's funny because Games Radar specifically mentions this. The only thing that irked me about Pokopia is a strange obsession with the use of yo in the dialogue. It starts as a greeting, which is fair enough, but suddenly Pokemon use it at the start and end of sentences. I could see it like being corny and stuff or like annoying. I don't really mind. I think it's just quirky, but. And then we have this cool like mineshaft type area that they showed off. And there's a really cute Paldean Wooper, which is awesome because this game's been in development apparently since like 2019-ish around. So, of course, it started with whatever Pokemon were available then, and then they added more Pokemon as more games came out. Game Radar says the core story in the game might only last 20 to 40 hours, but I already got more than that from the game just by trying to create all the different habitats and create a world you and your Pokemon will be happy to live in. In the Gaming Bible review, they mentioned the SSN, which is really funny. So, Pikachu, for example, plays a key part in the story-based missions that'll aid your restoration of Bleak Beach. It's here that you'll get to explore a full-scale, albeit rundown SSN, which is from like Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Red, and all that, if you know what I'm talking about. New Pokemon like Smurguru and Chef Greedent will teach you special skills. Restoring the game's broken world is satisfyingly therapeutic. So the whole goal of Pokopia is restoring what was like Pallet Town, of course. And basically just everywhere we go, there's just something to grind. Then they also say you can remodel it as you wish, although I'd perhaps recommend saving your creativity for Pallet Town, a play on the words of the usual Pallet Town. So Pallet Town, like food making, haha. You can access Pallet Town at any time, although the game recommends you wait until you've progressed to a certain point. It compromises 3 largely undeveloped islands so that players can wholeheartedly unleash their creativity. You can even do that alongside a friend via the game's multiplayer functionality. Game Informer doesn't really add a bunch of new information that we already read, although the review is cool and they show like these pictures here, which are very nice. So the metro.co.uk is talking about building is very similar to Minecraft. And then they show this cool picture right here. So the Game Reactor adds a bit of new information as well. You know, they just kind of highlight the part where fire types assist in melting down various types of materials. So like, you know, ores and stuff. And they show off the mossy Snorlax. They also highlight that sometimes we are sent on missions to find specific Pokemon. And you can see that we're actually transformed into a Ditto instead of like the human form of it. So maybe that's like to get in specific crevices, perhaps. Here's the mossy Snorlax. Here's where they show off where they live, which is very cute. And we have this area again with the mineshaft type thing. We can see a little score bunny, and they say the similarity to Minecraft is sometimes striking. Wow, yeah, this literally looks like Minecraft. Unlocking new abilities is fun. Flying and surfing are amongst my favorites. And see, we got the Lapras and we got the Dragonite, which is what I pointed out in the last video as well. So I'm really glad that they also thought that this was a really like fun niche aspect to highlight. A lot of these review websites are like in Portuguese or Spanish or even German, so there's gonna be like tough translations. But in Tierra Gamer, they show a freaking Kyogre. Hello. So there's more legendaries than just the original Raikou we saw, of course. So that's awesome. Another Spanish site, Nintendo, says the premise is very reminiscent of the beginning of Breath of the Wild, when Link awakens after 100 years and discovers that everything he knew has been destroyed. They point out that the game is very colorful and, of course, compare it to Minecraft in a way. It's a world built of blocks and comparisons are inevitable. However, the visual approach is very different. Everything is more rounded, softer, and more welcoming. The colors lean towards cheerful pastel tones that convey warmth a far cry from Minecraft's sharper, grittier aspect. And here's a screenshot of Ditto creating an altar to attract new Pokemon. And when we create new accesses, we have this screen right here. So I think it means like access, oh, gate open. Yeah, I had it on Tierra Gamer as well. So gate open, or, this. Continuing on the Nintendo review, they point out that Pokemon Pokopia multiplayer options are better than Animal Crossings, essentially. The second, third, or fourth player actually feels involved. What they do actually affects the area, which is what we know. The multiplayer's greatest strength is Cloud Island, a persistent Minecraft-style server that can be private or public. Everything you build there is saved, and you don't need everyone online at the same time. It even has its own Cloud Pokédex, separate from the stories mode, where you all complete the decks together. And they say interactions with Pokemon are much more polished than we expected. They say the main problem is that it's a very slow and deliberate game. If you're looking for a relaxing experience, and it's good, I guess they say. But if you're a grinder and you need like constant stimulation, it might not be a game for you. But okay, so we're moving over to Screen Hub, and they have a picture of a Piplup here. I know people love Piplup, so I wanted to start this one off with that. They talk about Pokopia being, a huge world, and they show this new screenshot here, which we haven't seen this area specifically much. It looks like it leads into the Minecraft cave type biome we've saw before. Oh, maybe not, because on Nintendo Life, they also show train tracks. Maybe they're just train tracks everywhere. I'm just a silly guy. So we have a Illumise. I never knew how to say Illumise, but yeah, we have the screenshot of Illumise here. Illumise. And they point out that, yeah, we do have like an energy or PowerPoint PP meter, but it's almost impossible not to find food to replenish this quickly. It's the most free a Pokemon game has felt in a long time. That's really cool. So we're not just like running out of moves and being like, well, gotta run all the way back home and replenish, and then run all the way back in this tireless loop. Like, I guess it's just easy to replenish it and you're good. We see this screenshot here of Piplup with Professor Tangrowth, and he's mentioning iron ore, which we saw in another review. Fire type Pokemon are used to melt down things for iron ores and whatever other type of ores may exist, which is cool. Then we have another screenshot of a fountain type area. They're breaking it down maybe to restore water or something. On Silly Conora, I probably said that so wrong, we see an area of flowers with a Leafeon and a Sylveon. I know there's a ton of Eevee fans out there, as well as a Blossom. And then we have this screenshot of what looks like inside a house. There's like 2 beds, a Rylu sleeping, little Arcanine in the window, and then a beach scene with a Vaporeon and some really nice looking food and a Wingull. So in the Tech Radar interview, I thought it was interesting that they call the Pokemon narcissistic, and they're too polite for their liking. But they gave it a good review, I think. They compare Pokopia to Wally, which is a new comparison. The Kanto region as you've never seen it before. And we've seen this in a few reviews, but there's actually a little Drillbur here, and he has some type of digging move you learn, which is nice. We've only really seen the starters and like Scyther so far. They show this new Smeargle guy, and they say there are also ample opportunities for customization, especially when it comes to building. I think players are going to have a lot of fun with this feature, which will be massively appreciated when it comes to the multiplayer experience where players can show off their home islands. And here's a screenshot of Jump Rope. Jump the rope when it comes close to your feet, and it's a little Bulbasaur with a vine whip thing. I read this in one of the other reviews, we'll get to it, but in Tech Radar, they talk about building a museum, which is like such a key part of Animal Crossing with Blathers, so I'm glad that there is a somewhat copy of that as well in this. Going over to the TSA website, not the airplane thing. Of course, they compared to Animal Crossing, but we see a picture of a Torchic, and we can give the Torchic something, ask how their comfort level is, ask them to follow me, or just say never mind. And they have personalities like Animal Crossing villagers. Each Pokemon has certain likes and dislikes, preferring dark or light places, spicy food or sweet food. But you can also ask them about their habitat, and they'll tell you that they want something like a toy, a decoration, or furniture to relax with. So that's really cool. So this is the bad review that we're about to go over. This is they give it a 60 here. It's by the gamer. So Pokemon Pokopia is Pokemon meets what exactly? It's kind of like Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest, blah, 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 but not really any of them. Pokemon Pokopia's Pokemon lack personality. Okay. Pokopia's building mechanics have depth, but don't feel worth it. All this to say, I don't think Pokemon Pokopia particularly nails the Pokemon side of things. But what about the Pokopia side? A lot of Pokopia's gameplay feels fiddly, and while you expect a degree of that in this genre, it can become a roadblock. The blocky nature of the world allows for you to terraform as you wish, but it can make the game tedious, especially in the early stages when you can only water the world in a cross shape that must move each time, and seems beholden to the camera angle rather than giving you control. There's fun to be had here, but ultimately Pokemon Pokopia doesn't explore the Pokemon side of its world and offers building quests that are mostly rigid and repetitive. As ever with Pokemon, there is enough charm to see through it, and the mechanics aren't shallow. It's Pokemon take on a bunch of other villager games. It's just not good at it. Someone said, what the hell is this review? Pokopia is clearly a kid's game and a spin-off, not meant to be anything like the main game. That's what I was kind of thinking too. I have to like really read this whole thing and not just skim it, but it seems like this person's more expecting like a Pokemon mainline game element to this. So VGC also mentions like 40 plus hours of gameplay, which is awesome. And even up to the story's climax, you'll be left questioning where the story is going to go. And they have some cool screenshots here we'll check out. So, you know, rock smashing, you're just kind of in the ground. Hitmonchan's taking a nap. We have a place with a Clefairy as a cashier. Oh, look, a gold ore. So metal extracted from gold deposits. It glitters with a luxurious sheen. So that's something we'll melt with fire-type Pokemon. Oh my God, look, a Zoroark. What the heck? That's cool. We also have a thing here that says nearby habitat. So Roly-Poly's home. Colossal's home, a fresh veggie field. That's really nice. We have a Shellos and the Smeargle. Here's the Combi. I think that people were saying that this Combi is shiny. I have to go and find the video, but I just saw an argument for it. I don't know if it's this one, but that doesn't look shiny, but there's probably another Combi that people were talking about. And I just saw like a back and forth. And then we got some hairstyles here. This is still from Video Game Chronicles. And yeah, it's just different hairstyles for your character, which I thought was cool. So then we got Pocket Tactics, and we can see them on a roof actually building their house, like building the roof, which is nice because in Animal Crossing, we just grow a house by paying a bill. Here, we're building a roof, like piece by piece, it seems like. To place any objects or blocks, you need to select them from your inventory. And Ditto shoves them into their mouth, puffing up their chest and cheeks. We have a little garden right here, Y for bean. They also point out that there's smooth transitions, really quick load times, and responsive inputs. And with a bunch of hours in the game, they haven't experienced any bugs, lags, or stuttering, both in handheld and dock mode, which is amazing. Because my personal gripe with Animal Crossing, even though I love Animal Crossing so much, I hated that every action was like a quirky, silly animation, which was fun, but like after 100 hours, getting around the island just felt tedious, and I don't know. But as we saw in another review, some people like that. And I'm one of the people where I don't mind chill stuff, but I also like stimulating games. So anyways, with that said, I am really excited for Pokopia for this mix that I'm kind of explaining here. There's even collectible CDs that allow you to play versions of iconic songs from previous Pokemon games, which we know DJ Rodum plays a part of. And then we also have the Pikachu here. I forget what his name was, like Pikachu or something. Okay, I skipped over a few reviews that kind of just say a lot of information that we already saw, but on books.net, we say fireplace number 150, and it says you haven't discovered this habitat yet. So why is this important? Well, habitat number 150. So there's over 150 habitats, which is crazy. A fire type Pokemon can usually turn clay into bricks or be used as a smelter. Electric Pokemon can power machines. Water Pokemon help clean sludge, and psychic Pokemon can allegedly teleport you to other Pokemon, though I've not figured out how to get one to do it. Wow, that's cool. Trapinch, for example, hates moisture. He's a little sandy guy who loves a dry desert. Okay, so lowering the humidity surrounding his habitat makes him happy. But what if his habitat is next to a Froakie who loves moisture in the air? There's a few different solutions for this balancing act. You can carefully plan out your environments, making sure their native environments are logical and sensible to each other. Okay, that makes sense. So there's like some overlap and like it's like a puzzle piece almost, perhaps. You can also build elaborate homes for each Pokemon specific to their tastes, then move them into these homes. And then you can create crude, tiny Soviet-style panel buildings to cram 4 Pokemon with similar taste into, so you only have to adjust the environment once instead of 4 times. I won't say which one I did, but the important thing is that my Pokemon are all legally happy according to the rules of the game. That's awesome. That makes sense, like a min-max type of thing. We have this cool little building here. It looks very, very Kanto-esque, and another what looks like player home. When mining in one city is getting a little frustrating or boring, you can switch over to electrifying another. As long as you're making progress, it doesn't matter which project you're working towards. That's something I imagine would likely get even better when playing the game at a slower pace. Yeah, because these guys were just grinding the game to get a review out. That's cool to know. We have a Magikarp sleeping while fishing. Does the Magikarp fish for you? What is this? What is the difference between a Torchic and a Cyndaquil? Both can power a smelter exactly the same. Sure, they have different personalities and slightly different housing wants, but the only function difference is that one of them is required for the story and the other is a random spawn. These villagers are friends, not just tools, but more could have been done to make them feel a little more unique. If Quilava made bricks faster than a Cyndaquil, then I could see the value of having both. It doesn't though. So all I'm left with is 2 flaming mice that serve the same role and have almost the same housing needs. Okay, I do understand that. DJ Rotom is a little more than a CD player that hovers around, and Mosslax, one of my favorite designs of the unique Pokemon, is barely present through the story, save for a small questline that I had already technically completed before I'd even met the moss-covered Snorlax. It's a little disappointing, in all honesty, though maybe there's more Mosslax in parts of the game I just haven't seen yet. Oh look, and then we can see a Charizard and a Venusaur. Okay, we're halfway through. Oh my god. So on Eurogamer, we can actually see the habitat of, you know, the grave offering we saw earlier that I was confused about. Candles and plate of food placed silently before a gravestone. Pretty creepy. We saw in the other review the Pokemon kind of just requesting what they want for their housing requirements, which is, you know, Venonat wants relaxation. I'd say it's average. I'm assuming it's like other games where if the Pokemon or monsters comfort level isn't met, it's just not outputting really anything. It's just like bad output, and then like the whole ecosystem of your island just gets ruined. And then here we go. The unique Pokemon designs such as Pikachu and Mosslax provide a nice spin on old classics. And then we can see another Pikachu picture. There it is. Epic. There's a few images on cgmagonline.com that I wanted to talk about. You've restored an ocean fishing spot habitat. So we can see the Magikarp fishing and stuff again. Then if we scroll down, we can see them placing bricks maybe for the track that we keep seeing throughout all the screenshots of these reviews. And we see the Lapras as well that we see the Ditto version and then the normal one. This allows us to traverse across the ocean to other parts of the world. Interacting with other Pokemon feels like a combination of the Mystery Dungeon games and Animal Crossing's Villagers. And you could socialize and all that stuff we've seen already. In the Atomics review, we have a cool picture of a Trubbish. There are so many Trubbish fans, so I just wanted to include this. And then it's talking about a Pomo habitat. In another review, it's funny, they were talking about how they desperately needed a Pomni but couldn't find one. Some of these I was having translation issues, but what I thought was interesting is like this is one of the first reviewers to not have the more girl-styled hair, and they have like a little afro going on. And we see more of the Chef Greedent. On multiplayer.it, we can see a picture of Jigglypuff giving on like a concert, I think. I mean, we got people sleeping. And an awesome picture of Mosslax. It will be possible to encounter very particular Pokemon, which we saw before. On everyeye.it, I see a screenshot here with you can eat food to restore your power points. Just kind of reminding you as well. On comicbook.com, in their review, they show off the ninja outfit. So you can earn different looks and Easter eggs they highlight here. They also say there's a sound effect for just about everything, and many of them feel like you're playing Pokemon Red and Blue again, which is really nice as far as Easter eggs and stuff goes. Human artifacts and items litter the empty landscape, and many of them feature fun tidbits from the main series. You'll find journal entries from members of Team R and from a Pokemon professor. I'm pretty sure we can all identify his references to his grandson. Comic Book says that despite a few minor snags, Pokopia is easily the best Pokemon game in years. Wow. In the Dexerto review, they actually show a Volcanion, which is freaking fire, as well as a Bastiodon, which is an awesome Pokemon. So we got like fossil stuff. I'm sure this will tie into the museum. I don't know fully what's going on with the museum. I'm going to do a video going over like specific things and like a more in-depth thing from all these. But yeah, the fossils is really cool. There's also a Gimme Ghoul, and he's asking you for specific things like rainbow feathers. And then we get the sailor outfit look, a picture of, you know, in the other review, they said you kind of find these things around. And here's them sleeping in a bush. I don't know if the sizes of the bushes are bigger and then there's smaller bushes. This one kind of looks bigger than the other ones, but I don't know if it's just the angle. And then on Gfinity, we have a screenshot of important request complete. So this is kind of what shows when you complete a cute little request. Oh, wow. And then on the id.nl website, we see a picture of number 160 Graveler, which is interesting because 160 different Pokemon is crazy. And wow, look at this area they show off. It's just really cool. All this water and stuff. Oh, and then we're getting a handcar working. You could set up railway tracks and ride a handcar on them. You can also link 2 or more handcars. Not the best game ever, lol. So yeah, I guess this is definitely how we traverse around each habitats and maybe the whole island, who knows. And we got this cute little, very Minecraft-esque looking screenshot. On it.ign, they say that the Nebula Islands are vast shared areas where we can invite our friends, join their sessions, or visit one via a dedicated code. These locations initially appear as a completely empty environment devoid of any structures, leaving players to gradually build and shape the space. When you access one of these islands, you cannot bring your own personal inventory. You can only use the blueprints you've already discovered to share your knowledge of habitat and construction. So that's really cool. So this is like where we saw where they were building the roof, another Minecraft cave, a cool little house, maybe like a player home or something, a little dragonite where you fly. And the Lapras. I love the Lapras so much. Look at the Onyx. On this Vandal website, they say, in addition to sharing worlds with friends and visiting other users' world, there are glasses that transport us to random player worlds. You can visit the worlds of strangers and friends to see how they've decorated them and chat with their Pokemon so they'll visit you. What has the most potential to keep us hooked on Pokopia with friends for a long time are the Cloud Islands, which we heard about before. Basically a private server where you can build, complete missions, and create habitats. Even if the person who created them isn't online, that's really awesome. Mouse mode is automatically activated when one of the Joy-Con controllers is placed on a surface. What? So yeah, I guess you can use mouse mode. I'm gonna have to try that out. That's crazy. Why is it the first time I'm seeing this? I guess I'm just skimming these. I don't know if any other article mentioned this, but what? That's cool that it has the mouse mode. And then this is cool too. It's a stable 60 FPS, which is amazing. Here's a cool screenshot from jukesvideo.com of a Dartrix. I know a lot of people love the Rowlet line. Another cave screenshot. From 4p.d, I could see a screenshot here, or we could see, of the different hats and the customizations, which is really nice. This is a German website, I believe. br.ign actually shows us some concept art, which is really cool. So you can check it out here. We got the Dragonite, the player, the Lapras. Oh my God, the Mossy Snorlax, nice. The Pikachu, more Pikachu. Oh yeah, Professor Tangrowth, nice. And this Miracle, cool. Oh, this part's really cool. So on videochums.com, we see an area of like the crystal cave type of thing here. And we could see one veggie burger coming right up. So I don't know if this is the pallet town thing they were talking about. I don't know if this is what it's called, but obviously they're cooking food. This is probably to help restore power points from, you know, doing Pokemon moves and clearing spaces and stuff. On PC Mag, we have a picture of another Trubbish. My body's really craving some tasty garbage. You should really do more littering around here. That is so real. And yeah, okay, so that's really it as far as the reviews go. The worst review was the Gamer. I think there was another like 70 review on here. Yeah, Game Colt gave it a 70, but overall it has about a 90 review score, which is crazy. I want to see real quick, what is the most reviewed, like what is the highest Switch 2 game? Pokopia is on number 9. So we have Resident Evil, Final Fantasy above it, Legend of Zelda, both Legend of Zelda's, Donkey Kong. So yeah, pretty cool. Number 9 is awesome. Where's Legend ZA? I wonder. Oh my gosh, it's not even in the top. Animal Crossing is at number 35. Wow. So that's pretty cool. Okay, well, whatever. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I feel like I've just talked for like 2 hours. So hopefully this video was entertaining and gave some insight. And I'll see you in the next video soon. Peace.